Welcome to The Green Screen. TheGreenScreen.tv is brought to you by the C Solar Store, the GES Solar Store, the Green Energy Option Solar Store, and the Union of Concerned Scientists, EarthTech, Ridgeview Construction, and the Green Alliance. I'm your host, Bill Rogers, and for the next 13 weeks, we'll be looking at and for solutions that save. Today, it's local and hyper-local with Dan Freund of Shortstream TV, Ann Bliss of C-Ray, and Ryan Bedard of Eco Movement Consulting in Holly.
Back in 08-07, when I moved back to the area, there was only one restaurant that was composting at that time in the area that was a Beach Pea, and I started doing that at Me and Ollie's, and then after I left Me and Ollie's, went to the Green Alliance, realized there was a major need for compost hauling because all the restaurants in the Green Alliance wanted it. There was a demand for it, and so there went the start of the program, and everyone that started out doing that at first was a little worried about how much it was going to take. You know, was the staff going to do it? But as soon as they started the program and started to see how much they could divert from the landfill and how it was actually going to a local farm and then being turned into topsoil and returning back to local, other local farms to grow food and closing the loop, a lot of people really got psyched about that, and it's just kind of spread like wildfire since then.
Well, that's cool. As a matter of fact, let's go and take a look at the Bald Guy podcast that we did at Me and Ollie's, about probably a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was more like 2, yeah.
Okay, let's take a look.
Hey, Bald Guy and Climate Change. Wow, I found a good place here, so I thought I'd get a little lunch at Me and Ollie's, our local fine bakery. And who's this?
Ryan Bedard, how are you?
Good to see you. So what's going on here? What's shaking?
Well, right now, as far as what we're really proud of that's going on here, I mean, we're proud of everything, but we're really proud of composting. Right now we're composting and recycling 95% of our overall waste. We're doing a lot of conservation that we've started in the past 8 months, where we're cutting a lot of that waste out at the source just by using reusables and things that you can rewash. Well, here we have a system set up which is going to be new here in the next week or so, but you have our compost bin with everything that can be composted. And you have our recycle, all glass, plastic drink bottles, and you have our landfill section and trash section. See that there's a large quantity of things that can be composted, including the veggie starch utensils, the veggie cups, veggie portion, and straw. The recycling is using, taking materials such as plastics, glass, and sending them off to a center to be recycled back into reuse them. Composting is a process where we're taking organic waste and we are composting that above ground in a commercial facility to bring it back to the soil, so return of the nutrients to close the loop. Yeah, we have a major renovation that's going to be happening starting on Monday. We're going to have a brand new compost bin which will tell the story of where it starts and where it goes, break down the science of the process. We'll have nice big pictures of Eva from Earth Tenders sticking a 5-foot thermometer into the compost to see what the temperature is. It's going to be really great. We'll have a nice environmental statement on the back, and we're using all low VOC paint in here for the renovation, and we've got all energy efficient bulbs that we use currently and we'll use in the renovation, and it's going to be pretty great. It's going to just open the place up and make it a real nice community spot.
Cool. So, Ryan, you went from working for somebody else to running your own business. It's a big undertaking. How'd it go?
Actually, I'm doing a presentation tonight, and I have a bullet point. I kind of highlighted the problems and then the solution. One of the first things I wrote was solution, starting a business in a down economy. Just to get a laughter out of people and just say what a risk you take in a down economy. But I'm passionate about what I'm doing, and I saw that there was a need. Did I know in the start that I was going to get that many people on board? No, I had no clue. I knew 3 or 4 people wanted to do it, but I didn't know that we'd be at 50 at this point. I knew it was going to take some time, but it definitely grew a lot faster than I expected.
You've got some images. Let's take a look at some of the images. You shot this material, right?
Yes, yeah.
And shot it with your...
an iPod Touch.
I think this is really early in the morning because there's one image very briefly where you can sort of see what it's probably more like, because those phones are so good at adjusting for light.
Yeah, it was winter. I mean, we had, it was starting to warm up a little bit, but we still had on the big hooded sweatshirts and the winter hats on. So.
And okay, so now we take it from your truck. Where does the stuff go?
The stuff goes to Seacoast Farms, which is a facility in Fremont, New Hampshire. Bob Kelly, the owner, has been doing it for about 10 years. So he turns that into beautiful, nutrient-rich compost. He mixes it in. Essentially, what we're bringing to him is nitrogen. It's primarily nitrogen. It's food waste from the restaurants and all of our other organizations we work with. And he mixes in a carbon source, so that can be a manure, leaf waste, hay, wood waste. And essentially, it takes about 6 months to a year. He turns the piles, monitors the heats, and it's basically a process where microbes are creating all that heat. So microbes digest on the exterior of their membrane, and they need certain environment to breed. And so they need moisture because they digest on the outside of the membranes. They need oxygen as well. It can't be too moist in there because it goes anaerobic. And they need particle size to allow those air holes in. And then you actually need to turn those piles to redistribute the heat and the oxygen. You end up with some really beautiful, they call it black gold. A lot of people refer to it as that. And you end up with this super nutrient-rich amendment to your soil.
Is the farm distributing that?
Yeah, yes. And we're actually partnering to start distributing it as well. And so we'll be, this spring, summer, we'll be selling it at the Durham Farmers Market, actually at the Durham Marketplace, Portsmouth Farmers Market, and the Dover's Farmers Market as well. Okay,
so I throw out a bunch of stuff, say I'm a business. Yeah. What's the pitch?
The pitch is from different perspectives. So you have the environmental perspective, you have the cost-saving perspective, you have the education perspective, and you have a community kind of perspective. So when I sit down, I explain the whole point of this program is to educate. The whole point is to change that mentality of we don't care, because a lot of managers say that, my staff doesn't care. Well, the whole point is to educate people and get them to care and say, okay, I care where my waste is going. I see that it's going to a local farm growing more food. I see that my recyclables are actually getting recycled, and very little is going to the landfill. And so when people start thinking like that, you have that community and that change that happens within a staff where people start to think, and they take that thinking outside of work, which is really what my hope and goal is with the company, is to affect that change and be a movement. And then on the cost, we're diverting waste from a dumpster. And landfills are the most expensive costs and the highest tipping fee. So as we divert more waste from that landfill dumpster, we decrease the amount of pickups or decrease the size of that dumpster. And then if we also help them and aid them in the single stream recycling and get them partnered with one of the businesses we partner with, then we divert more to compost, more to single stream. Those are the most cost-effective ways to go. And then we have very little trash, and that's the goal of zero waste, is diverting upwards of 90%. The thing is, right now we have to think about the long term on all of our decisions at this point. So the long term is we need soil. And if we don't have soil, we can't grow food. In order to have soil, you have to return nutrients. And if you're getting your fertilizers from across the country or even 2 or 3 hours away, that's unsustainable. We need to produce our soil regionally. In every region, there needs to be a local compost facility that can take in all this food waste, turn it into nutrient-rich soil, and get it back to these farms to grow healthy food for the people in the community. And so that's really where we have to focus our energy.
There was an article in the New York Times yesterday, I believe, about soil erosion.
Yeah.
That was not seen. It seemed like we had really addressed that in years past, and it's really becoming much more of an issue.
Yeah, I mean, conventional farming methods are no joke. I mean, they're really killing the soil. They're killing the living organisms in the soil. They're polluting with the runoff into local watersheds. I mean, there's so many bad things that are happening. There's a lot of good people out there that are trying to educate farmers, and I've met some of them, educate farmers in the Midwest on no-till methods and methods of building fertility through composting. And so I have hope. It's just going to take a lot of education, but there are good people out there doing it.
Welcome back to the green screen, and here this morning with Ann Bliss. Thanks for coming in this morning, Ann.
You're welcome.
And with CRAE. What does CRAE stand for?
CRAE stands for Seacoast Area Renewable Energy Initiative.
We do have a clip, and I have learned something about CRAE. So let's take a look at the clip that we did, I don't know, a year
August 2009, actually.
Great.
People thinking about,
Bald Guy and Climate Change here. You know, this is what's called there used to be something called a barn raising, and this is what's called a solar raising, or maybe a sun raising.
Yeah, we're putting a little solar hot water array up on the roof that will cut down their energy use.
Mike and Ann will get probably about 80% to 90% of their hot water in the summertime, about 7 months of the year, and then about 30% in the wintertime.
What's beautiful is it's like a big thermometer, thermometer with a vacuum on the inside. Now, they put a fluid in the vacuum, and that fluid, since it's in a vacuum, will boil at a very low temperature.
How many do we have? We've got 6 of us on this roof now. Okay. Just counting.
Is it strong enough, you think?
It has been so far.
Should we take one?
Many hands make light work, and what we try to do with PRAE and now the Seacoast Area Renewable Initiative, what we tried to do was to bring the cost of energy to a reasonable level that created parity with how you can make energy with oil or electricity or whatever. And one of the ways to do it was to try to eliminate a little bit of the labor cost.
So you're pretty good.
We're pretty good.
Yeah.
Nail it. 3 degrees of separation, we're good.
Nail it.
People really want to do the right thing.
And what's the right thing?
The right thing is to lower our carbon footprint. And to do that and also save dollars.
We're energizing people basically by talking about cost and about the accessibility now of being able to do it with neighbors.
Energy conservation and things like that, you're going to save money, you're going to use less resources.
And PRAE, with all of its community partners like CRAE here, have put in 104 systems in the last 4 years, many of them by energy raisers. And so we've eliminated about 30 to 40,000 gallons of oil every year. As that mushrooms, it could be hundreds of thousands of gallons in the next couple of years, and that means that that's fossil fuel that's not being burnt.
So, that it was so cool. It was a beautiful day.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And sitting at your partially in your yard, partially in your neighbor's yard, watching the little train go by.
Right.
And it was a great discussion. And so, what is CRAE? What's it doing?
Well, CRAE is modeled after a program that actually started about 5 or 6 years ago, the Plymouth Area Renewable Energy Initiative. And we became a community partner with them. And it's really a way to offer renewable energy systems to people at a reasonable cost. It's also a way of building community and about learning about a lot of different things. We use the old-fashioned barn raising technique. So all those people that were there were volunteering to help install the system and to offer guidance. We actually had some members that particular raising people from Paray that were there. And we make food, we feed people, we have a public session. I believe that when you arrived, we were having a public session where people from the neighborhood and from the larger Portsmouth community came to learn something about what C-Ray is all about, and also how renewable energy, how a solar system actually works. We take people on tours so that they could see what's happening.
Yeah, I know Bert Cohen was
Yep.
educating me on how vacuum tubes work.
Right.
And the great advantage of bringing water up to a higher temperature, not necessarily a higher temperature, but bringing it to steam where
Right.
the energy can be released more effectively.
Right.
Very cool. How's your system going?
Oh, it's fabulous.
Yeah.
It's great. You can take a free shower, you know, and it works whether the weather is cold or not. When the sun is out, our system is working, and it's really marvelous.
So even in the depths of winter in New England, you're
Yes.
you can heat your hot water.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
How much of a demand can you meet with your system?
You know, I'm not sure I can answer those questions. That's much more technical.
But
we
more
have
than some, you would say.
Definitely more than some. We have a family of two, and we can adequately both have showers and wash our dishes. You know, run our dishwasher, and you know, have the sun heating the water for that.
Now, some of I think an earlier term was alternative energy, and now the favored term seems to be renewable energy. What's the thinking behind this language change?
Well, again, I'm not sure that I'm the best spokesperson for that, but renewable energy is something that we all need to be thinking about. We can be using without taking anything out of the ground. It's something that can be used over and over again. It's not going to pollute, and it should not be an alternative. It should be the way that we do things.
Mm-hmm. So it's there. We're
there.
using it.
Let's use it. It's
Yeah.
there. The sun is there for our use.
And how is what's the energy within C-Ray? How's the climate inside of C-Ray as an organization?
It's fabulous. We're growing by leaps and bounds at this point. We received a small grant, and that has allowed us to hire a project manager. And so we now have a project manager that we just hired. His name is Mike De Leon. And he is going to be managing all of the energy raisers. And also we have a relationship with the Southeast New Hampshire Habitat for Humanity. And so that we will be working with them on helping them to install the renewables and helping them as they design these homes for low-income families to make sure that they're oriented properly and that they're set up for us to do the barn raisings. Our concept is very similar. They use the volunteer pay-it-forward, and we use the volunteer pay-it-forward method, and so it was a natural fit. So Mike will be managing that project and also the ongoing raisers. And I want to say that we don't just install solar thermal or solar hot water. We also are installing photovoltaic.
Now, one of the things that this show is sort of dedicated to is the idea that these solutions are happening. They're happening all around us. They're energizing. They're fun. They're very available. You know, it's not this little tiny niche on the edges of society.
That's
this
right.
is really in the heart of society.
Correct.
That these things are changing because they make economic sense. Is that real for you guys?
Absolutely. And you know, people are seeing the returns right away. Right now we have state and federal rebates and that people can benefit from. They may be drying up. I don't know, again, the status of that. But in combination with the discounts that we're able to get our network members for the equipment, plus the rebates, plus the volunteer labor, people are able to get these systems at a reasonable cost. We also know that there are people that are not that interested in having volunteers installing their systems. So we have many companies that are members, and we will refer to them, and they will offer reasonable discounts to people who are C-Ray members. You know, we want renewable energy on every on every roof, at every home. So we don't want to compete with the companies that are out there. We want to be able to support them and send as many people their way as we can while still keeping C-Ray solvent and making it available for people who maybe can't afford to have a professional company come in.
Cool. Well, we'll have to catch up with C-Ray, see one of your more recent energy razors. Are you still referring to them as energy razors?
Yes, energy razors. And we also do energy shares and potlucks. And we do that every other month. We're having one actually tonight, and where we invite members and the public to come and learn something new. Tonight we're going to be having people from Seacoast Permaculture Group come and talk about permaculture and sustainability. And we're going to be bringing our own solar dryer so that people can see how you can use the sun to dry your herbs and vegetables, fruits that you may be growing. And then we'll have small groups discussions afterwards about installing solar and what that looks like. We'll also have this zero waste potluck.
Well, thanks for coming in this morning, Ann.
Thank you for inviting me.
And now it's time for the Union of Concerned Scientists, Ask the Scientist.
You know, we know from a lot of different scientific evidence that it's our emissions of heat-trapping gases that are the prominent cause of the warming that we're experiencing. First, we just know the basic physics of heat-trapping gases. We understand how they accumulate in the atmosphere and serve as a blanket and trap heat as we release them. We understand from looking at indirect measures of temperature from before we actually had thermometers recording Earth's temperature directly, indirect measures such as measuring tree rings, which change as climate changes, pollen cores that we take from lake sediments that also allow us to look at the history of climate before direct thermometer measures were used. We're able to discern that the temperature that we're experiencing today is truly unusually high, higher than it's been for at least several hundred years. One of the most important lines of evidence we have is from the computer models that we use to simulate the Earth's climate. Models that are developed independently from multiple research labs from NASA and from other research institutions across the country and around the world. We can use these computer models to simulate what the Earth's climate should have been over the past several decades. And what we see is that if we include only the natural drivers of climate variability and change, we don't get the warming that we've actually seen. It's only when we include the human drivers, and in particular the increasing concentrations of carbon dioxide and other heat-trapping gases, that the climate models find and closely track the warming that we've actually experienced, that we can show from the temperature records that we actually have. So the climate models are an independent measure of the warming that we're seeing, and most importantly, of the human fingerprint of that warming.
This store is like the old-time hardware store. Come check it out. When I was a kid, my dad took me through this great place where you could find just about any little gadget to do just about anything. These glass tubes are called heat pipes. Sun comes out, starts making steam, things get hot, showers get warm. What we're doing is we're bringing solar to Main Street.
So are we on Main Street here?
Well, this isn't exactly Main Street. We're on Route 108 north of the Weeks Crossing. In Dover, it's a great place where you can come and learn about how you can save energy by using the sun.
Welcome back to the green screen, and pleased this morning to be joined by Dan Freund. Dan with Short Stream TV. So, Dan, what is Short Stream TV?
You know, Short Stream was kind of conceived out of frustration for there not really being any accessible outlet for community-related video here in the Seacoast. And I wanted something a bit better than the YouTube model or the blip model where content gets clouded by all the other content, like cat chasing a laser or a baby farting. So I wanted a place where I could put all the video that I was creating, and you know, this hyperlocal concept has been developing over the past few years, and I've seen a lot of bloggers and writers jump into the hyperlocal space, so I decided to kind of craft short stream around a community. And what better community than Portsmouth, I figured.
And does Portsmouth qualify for a hyper-local community? Can any community qualify as hyper-local?
Well, that's the thing with short stream, because it's ambiguous enough so that it can be taken and replicated in other communities. And right now, I'm starting to reach out to other producers and look for additional content. So I'm looking for content from other communities, and I want to use this as a way of introducing people to different communities, whether it's in New Hampshire or it's beyond New Hampshire. So there's certainly a growth prospect that I'm going after.
Well, I'm thinking the green screen TV can use short stream TV, and short stream TV can use the green screen TV.
It sounds like a perfect marriage to me.
It sounds good to me, too. That, as a matter of fact, one of the notions of the green screen is how the local and the global are connected, because we do have climate change as sort of a subtext of this show. It's really about these cool solutions all around us, but that's about how the global and the local are connected. So a good introduction to hyperlocal. Does that global-local connection say anything to you?
Well, I'm a geek for economics, and so I relate everything down to economics. And you know, Germans have this wonderful way of segmenting out two differing points of view for economic relationships, these two concepts known as Gesellschaft and Gemeinschaft. And they're not mutually exclusive. One needs the other, but it breaks it down into two different sectors where you have Gesellschaft, which is much more the idea of a global economy, a global community, but it's less personal. And then this concept of Gemeinschaft, where you have a certain intimacy with the people that you do business with. And that's something that is near and dear to me. I want to believe in the people and the businesses that I do business with. And so I'm perhaps a bit more skewed on the local side of it at this point, but you know, that's just because I'm at this stage. And it is a growth step by step. You know, I've been growing since I graduated now 11 years ago.
Well, Dan, let's take a look at a clip from Short Stream TV.
I'm here with Mike and Davis, and he just happens to be next door, but you're working on a tree here, plum tree.
Yeah.
That has some, what do you call it, black knot?
Black knot, yep.
Okay.
It's a fungus that restricts vascular flow, and so if we don't prune it out, it's gonna spread, it's gonna get further down into the trunk wood, and when the cankers get down into the trunk wood, then you can imagine it's gonna restrict the flow to everything above that particular spot. So we need to prune it all out. Luckily it's not too far down at this point, and with proper care of the tree, with some good organic fertilizer, you know, some proper pruning, hopefully we can minimize the amount that the infection really gets into the tree.
If you see black knots like that, give Mike a call. Cornerstone Tree Care.
So with that bit of hyper-local from Short Stream TV, that'll do it for this week's Green Screen. See you next week.